Hello and welcome back to Fear the Waves Inside the Wave. We're here to preview Tulane's American Athletic Conference Championship game versus Army with a very special guest, strength and conditioning coach Rusty Whitt. Rusty, how are you doing?
I'm doing great tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you. I'm excited for Tulane to participate in a third straight conference championship. For those of you who don't know, not only is Rusty an experienced strength and conditioning coach coming over with Jon Sumrall from Troy, but he also had a decorated career as a Special Forces sergeant in the United States Army, serving as a senior Special Forces communications sergeant in the 10th Special Forces Group, and was a member of the U.S. Army from August 2003 to January 2009, where he was deployed to Iraq as part of an Operation Iraqi Freedom 5 and 6. So, Rusty, what does it mean to you personally to go and play at West Point?
Well, it's just a very prideful experience. I love being a football coach and the camaraderie that we have as coaches and with our players, and you bring that to the environment of West Point, and you're going to be tested. And I know what we're getting into with the culture they have there that Coach Monken has pieced together over the last 8 years. So it's going to be it's what you work for. It's what you coach for. When you're doing January workouts in the stadium at 5:45 in the morning and it's cold and it's 15 degrees outside, this is what you're working for. So it's exciting. West Point's one of the most beautiful places in the world to play a football game, so we're amped up about it.
Awesome. You also coached at Army. What was that experience like, and how did that differ from the other college football programs that you worked at?
Well, when I got there, the coaching staff, like I'd said, with Coach Monken, they had been there for a while, and their culture was really set in stone. And so all I had to do was go there and just help support it, coach my racks. I was the first assistant actually there after I was let go from Texas Tech. And the players are so dialed into details and they listen so well. And there's a mutual respect, and their code of conduct is very strict. And from around 6:30 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon, they're on their cadet time, the West Point schedule, and then around 3 o'clock they're turned loose to do their athletics. And so we had two workout groups at 3 o'clock and like 4 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock we'd open the doors, they'd come running in, and it was like an escape for them to come train, whether it be running or lifting. And just very hardworking young men. Give them their workout card and watch them go. A lot of leadership enforced. So it was very easy to coach up there, and I always reflect on that with great fondness. And the ones that are playing right now, who are firsties or seniors, I recall meeting some of them on their recruiting visits. So I think there's one player left due to COVID and some other issues who's still playing there that I know. But other than that, it's a fresh crop of guys, and they go through. They don't redshirt. You're playing, so they go through pretty rapidly their career at West Point. So it's just overall a great place to work, and it's going to be a heck of a game, and looking forward to it.
Nice. It's a pretty cool opportunity to be able to play a championship game against a service academy, especially in such a competitive conference. But that's what happens when Army's 10-1 and have won 14 of their last 15. I have a two-part question for you. Coach Monken was just named Coach of the Year over our Jon Sumrall. I know a lot of us thought that Jon Sumrall was deserving. First, having worked for Coach Monken, what makes him special, and why do you think he was named Coach of the Year in the conference? And then, not a snub, but why do you think Jon Sumrall also was worth consideration and could have won if it wasn't for Coach Monken?
I think it just comes down to records. You know, they have one loss versus Notre Dame. We now have three. I think it's just the way the ball bounced this year. You know, we are literally one play away from beating Kansas State, and very similar situation in Oklahoma. We had them on the ropes. We were unable to close the deal on that, and then we had the setback versus Memphis. But I think it's a toss-up between both those coaches, having worked for both of them. Coach Monken is highly organized, highly structured, and a strong motivator. And his attention to detail is really second to none. And that's why he's a great fit at West Point. You know, if Coach Monken is walking around the practice field and he sees a leaf laying on the turf, he bends over and picks it up. If there's a gum wrapper, he picks it up. He'll fill his pockets up full of trash off the field. He's just meticulous with his details. And you have to be with Service Academy athletes. And there's no margin for error. And Coach Sumrall is similar in many regards with his attention to detail, his motivational abilities, and being a defensive-minded coach. And his organizational skills are really, really strong. And the thing that I enjoy about working with Coach Sumrall is his aligned message from the top down. Everybody's speaking the same language. Some college programs, it's like the Tower of Babylon with various messages going across, but our coaches all know the priorities and they speak the same language, and it makes it easy for our players to digest information.
Makes for a great matchup on Friday night. I agree with you. I think it's about records. Unfortunately, ball didn't bounce our way. We talked about this on the last podcast. You know, offensive PI call goes the other way, fumbled, just doesn't happen, a little bit of a fluke event, and Tulane is sitting pretty. But on the other hand, after Oklahoma, Tulane won 8 straight and blew out almost everybody in their path. So I'm looking forward to seeing another long win streak, including this conference championship, and starting there and then a bowl game. Rusty, there was a lot of talk around Uptown that when Willie Fritz was leaving, that Kurt Hester had some big shoes to fill. And I think, with all due respect to Kurt Hester, people have even forgotten that we had such a great strength coach last season, because there's so much buzz about having one of the toughest and best strength coaches in the country in you. So can you explain a little bit what your role is? And then also, how has this team stayed so healthy?
Well, my role is to keep our players healthy in the football season and to enhance their abilities in the off season. So we just signed a group of young men in our recruiting class, and they all have inherent abilities. And it's my job to enhance those abilities in weightlifting, running drills, using all of our plyometric philosophies and speed, speed drills and speed training. And when I was interviewing for my job at Troy to work for Coach Sumrall, when he showed up, we're talking like late November of 21, I guess it was, maybe December. And the first thing I told him was, your best ability is availability. So we put a high priority on common injury sites. To answer the second part of your question, the most common injury of all football is going to be an ankle sprain or some type of ankle, a high ankle sprain. And so we put a lot of attention to their ankles, how we do our exercises, and the very first thing we do every day is work on ankle mobility. The second most common injury you're going to get as a football player is something in the shoulder joint, and there's all kinds of things that can happen there. AC separations, AC bruises, labral tears, things of that nature. So we put a high priority on strengthening the shoulder girdle with pulling activities, pull-ups, push-ups, pressing the correct way, medicine ball, shock throws, working on anticipating and catching medicine balls in the air, and trying to duplicate the force they're gonna sustain in a football season. The next thing we do, we have to deal with the knee injuries, all kinds of knee injuries, MCL sprains, of course, the dreaded ACL tear, which you want to fight that off as much as you can, and meniscus injuries and PCL injuries and things like that. So having very strong hamstrings, through my career, I've come to understand that very strong hamstrings can help fight off your more serious knee injuries. So we just put a high priority on targeting what's going to get hurt in a football season and fighting against it. The neck, trying to prevent severe concussions, concussions in general. We do a lot of neck work to make their neck strong to absorb impact. So I guess as far as keeping guys healthy, there's a lot of fortune. You could call it luck, but also being able to bend under stress and accept force. And we power clean to exert force and to absorb force. So we work on those two components quite a bit, and it helps. I've had a pretty good track record with keeping teams somewhat healthy. You're going to get beat up playing football no matter what, but it's all in the dirt, as they say. It's all in the grit and the grime and grabbing hold of bars and doing difficult things in the weight room.
Wow, that's all awesome. I'm really happy to hear that we're working hard to prevent injuries, as that's always something you never want to see, especially from students, not just athletes, but these are all young students.
Coach
And then,
Sumrall, I got one more thing to add to that. Coach Sumrall gives us 3 organized lifts per week, which is really, really critical for our success. So he understands the importance of it, and he gives us proper time and allows us to put that work in.
that's great. I'm glad to hear it's been a great and seamless work experience with Jon Sumrall. I know all Tulane fans, especially fans of our show, are huge fans of Jon Sumrall. Makhi Hughes somehow got both stronger and faster. We've talked about that on the podcast, and I think that you don't really see that too often in football.
Well, he's a young player, and as guys mature, that tends to happen if I don't get in their way. He's a very genetically gifted athlete, going way back to the very first string coaches in our profession. Many were told if they get slower, you're fired. So working on with an athlete like Makhi, working on his mobility, where his stride length is not hindered by getting stronger, keeping his stride length long, getting him a little bit more powerful, and his just natural maturity as he's gotten a year older has helped him develop into that. I wish I could take all the credit for it, but a lot of it is his mom and dad. But he works really hard. He dialed into the details of how to move the weight we were wanting to correctly. And we work a lot of acceleration work in the summer and in the off season. So I think a big part of my philosophy might be different from many others is that we put a huge priority on acceleration, not so much top end speed, because if you can accelerate, you're going to handle the top speed well anyway. But it's the acceleration part through defenses and people trying to hold on to you and push you back and hit you. That's the hardest thing. So he's really good at accelerating, and again, his just natural maturing as an athlete has helped him tremendously.
Excellent. And one player whose acceleration has really impressed me, and I'm excited to see how he continues to progress, is Jamari McClure. Looking forward to seeing what he does down the line. But focusing on this week, what's the path to victory for Tulane against your former employer in Army?
The path to victory is to control the line of scrimmage, and we have to create second and third and longs on our defense has to get Army's offense in third and long positions, and where it's fourth down, and they elect to have to punt instead of go for it. They're very happy about going for it on 4th and 3 on their own 40. So we have to be very successful on first and second downs. We have to tackle violently. Their quarterback, Bryce, is very strong. He's over a 500-pound squatter. And we have to grab a hold of him and gang tackle. And then they're very sly about their play action passing. So we have to do a good job with our defensive backs of not taking the cheese, the run option, or the run fake, and being able to cover over the top. So it's a lot of it's going to be on our defense to get off the field. A lot of Army's strategy is to limit your possessions. 7 or 8 possessions per game. So we have to score on offense. We have to convert. We have to get, our third down conversions are extremely important. We can't turn the ball over like we did against Memphis. So I think if we can contain, you're never going to stop Army's rush game, but you can contain it and get them to punt a couple of 3 or 4 times. And you have to get a couple of possessions ahead of them, or they're going to go for it. They're going to fake punts. They're going to fake kicks. They're going to pull out everything possible, and they played very hard. But it's really kind of, just to use the term old school. It's old school football: block, tackle, and be fundamentally sound.
Should be a fun one on Friday. I'm thinking the same. Got to hold on to the football, and as you said, very unique play style, going for it 4 downs if they can. And that was successful for them early versus UTSA last week. And then UTSA started to get some 3rd and longs. That's what Tulane needs to do. Hopefully we punch them in the face early and can run away with it from there. Rusty Whitt, thank you. Yeah.
I was just going to say, what happens with when you go play at Army, people just aren't used to the speed of their attack. So you have to, in the first quarter, you have to be you have to be firing on all cylinders and be awake and ready to pop pads in the cold, in their environment.
Will be a tough battle of the trenches. Army also had a couple on all-conference linemen. All 5 of ours were all-conference, 2 first team, 2 second team. And from what I've seen in practice this week, I think our boys are up to it. So looking forward to the conference championship. Rusty Whitt, strength and conditioning coach, thanks so much for coming on our show, and roll wave.
Roll wave. Thank you.